Good afternoon, Jan.
Michael, good afternoon.
We figured out time. It's amazing.
Yeah, but it ends well. But I was confused.
Yeah.
No, what happened? You sent me that mail for 1400 hours.
Mhm.
Say, oh, Michael calculates in my local time now.
Oh.
Because usually it is 1500 hours here.
Oh, okay.
So if
Interesting.
if, if we switch
Ah.
to local time and we stay on the same UTC time,
Hmm.
normally it would be 1400 hours here.
Huh.
But
Okay, interesting.
But so when it was 1400 here 1 hour ago, I
Uh-huh.
logged in and then I saw the message for everybody 1400 hours. I said no. If it's for everybody, then it must
Yeah.
be UTC. And indeed, Michael was not there, so
Mm.
uh,
Yeah, and usually I do put UTC after the time, and I don't think I did
yeah,
that
and
for either
and
message.
because
Yeah.
no, last time we stayed on the same UTC time, the last transition,
Mm.
and we
Yeah.
changed local time.
Yeah.
So I assumed that this time it would be also we stayed on the same UTC time. So that's why I was saying, hey, Michael is calculating in my local time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was hoping that I could be steadfast and I could reject the time change and say I'm just going to think
Mm.
and plan in UTC and then you stick with it, and that
Oh,
really didn't work out with my schedule.
for me, it doesn't matter. So it's good both ways.
Yeah, but then next week, so you're changing this weekend, right? So
No, we already
you
changed.
already changed. Okay, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
So for me, it stays on the same timing, local.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay.
yeah. So, yeah, keep checking up on that, daylight or day sunshine. Yeah, Sunshine Protection Act. Seeing if that's going to pass. And I'm not sure what the holdup is. It's like this is
Well,
universally supported.
it should be so easy, but
Hmm.
it is not. Something incredible happened.
Yeah. What's that?
I've been less lazy than usual.
Oh.
I've still been lazy. I've still been lazy. Um, no, the caching.
Hmm.
Remember that's for almost a year. That the caching for the types and the roles
Okay.
was not yet implemented. So up to now, I will show you.
Excellent.
All right, this one, and then we put it on the better text readability like this. Is that?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
It's crashing again.
Wait. Um, because I do have a virtual machine open right now. Um, right. Let me just close and save that virtual machine. But last time it was not crashing at all.
Yeah.
Save that one. And what is making the difference?
I took my one shot at it, and I'm all out of ideas.
Right, and my Visual Studio closes as well. It's Visual Studio that crashes and um, wait. Last time we did a setting.
Yeah,
What?
in Visual Studio we turned
Yeah,
off 3D video acceleration.
yeah. Because remember last time I opened 2019
Mm,
because the
okay.
Visual Studio version selector opened 2019. 19, and so now I changed it to 2022. And where was that setting? And after I changed that, did it still crash? Do you remember?
Um, I think
Right.
it was generally more successful, but it wasn't completely successful.
Visual Studio acceleration, GPU accelerator. Where? Oh, that's VS Code. VS Code. Debug performance diagnostic. Main menu. Choose debug. No, it's not that one.
Yeah, help is saying that it's in environment general.
Environment, and where do we see environment? Under
Yeah, so
the
in
under
tools
the
options, environment is the top one.
tools options, environment general. Use hardware graphics acceleration is if available. No, that one is switched off. So apparently I already did the correct one at a time. Look, let's try it again. Share your screen. Better readability. Yeah, for the moment. And then I move my mouse there. Still works. Good.
Okay. So I
Yeah.
just clicked on watch stream.
Nobody
So yeah,
knows
I can
why,
see
but
it.
it works.
Okay.
Where was I? Yeah, so we had this iStore.read in the SQLite store. Is it readable in this way?
It is, yes.
Yeah. And so we have a fact type map and we have a role map. The fact type map is going to look for the fact types from the specifications. And what I did before it was something like this, I just loaded all the specifications each time from the database.
Okay.
So there was no optimization whatsoever.
Yeah.
So now what do? We have the same function here, which will first get all the unknown facts.
Okay. Nice.
It filters out. I have a fact type cache, which is just an immutable dictionary from a string integer.
That's the best kind of dictionary.
If the fact type in my specification is already in the cache, then it's not an unknown one. Otherwise, it's an unknown. So if they are unknown fact types, then I go and check, then get them from the database. For the moment, I just pass it in as a string, not as a parameter.
Yeah.
I make the whole thing to an immutable dictionary. I merge it. So my loaded fact types with my cache. So I update my cache and I return my cache. Now, I've still been lazy. Let's call it smart, not lazy. I was looking into your code in Jinaga server, especially this code, because that's the difficult part.
Yes. Yeah.
That goes
The
through the whole
recursively,
data
yeah.
structure. And then I looked into Jinaga.net for some inspiration. And then, where was it?
Was it in the unit test, perhaps?
It was in one of the unit tests.
Yeah.
Yes. I just let search for this in the entire solution. Not here, of course. Not here. Query generator test.
Yeah. Okay.
This is exactly what I needed.
Uh-huh.
With get all fact types from matches, from projections, and so on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this was very nice. And we have the same thing for the roles. I didn't copy the roles yet.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be lazy,
Yeah.
so I keep that for next time.
Yeah.
But so so it works now for the fact types. I was not too sure how to test this,
Mm-hmm.
but what I did was I had here in the store test, which should actually be removed because it's also in the query tests. This can query for successor.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did was add this one. I
Okay.
just looped through it 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
1,000 times the same query. So if where is it, that one? It's equalize store test, the store test, and it is this one. So if I run that one, oh,
Uh-oh.
crashed again.
Oh.
Uh, yeah, there is something very wrong with because now the virtual machine is not running, and that was not the cause last time.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
Okay.
so there is some conflict with Discord, I think, because the code itself, I run it multiple times, so it's running fine.
Mm-hmm.
The difference, let's try to share again then without running it. Okay, use,
I see it.
yeah. So running thousand times through it. If I go to the SQLite store and instead of this new routine, I uncomment the old one and I command the new
Okay.
one, then it gives a difference from 7,300 milliseconds towards 5,800 milliseconds.
Okay.
So for the moment, it's not a big improvement,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then
but it's
once you get the
only the,
roll cache in there, then it should bring it down even
yeah,
further. Yeah.
yeah. So I will do the roll cache for next week, and then we will see what that does.
Nice. Excellent.
Because actually, SQLite, yeah, it runs on an SSD here.
Mm-hmm.
So it should load quite fast, and all the processing to walk through the specifications is also quite a lot of work.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. That would be the bulk of the work would be all the joins that it has to do in order to run the specification in SQLite.
so I'm wondering if it would be with a mechanical hard drive from from 10 years ago, it would make a huge difference, I guess. But today with the electronic hard drives,
Yeah.
the SSDs, I think it makes less of a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. And our target platform is a mobile phone, so
Yeah,
um,
it's
yeah.
even more direct.
Yeah, and I think pretty much what this optimization is saving is not so much time, but instead battery life. So if it's able
Mm.
to fetch from the nearby RAM versus um, the uh, the SSD that's in the phone, um,
Yeah.
then I think it's going to use less memory or less power. Um,
Look, we can find out. Let's let's implement for the roles as well, and then see what it does.
yeah, excellent. Yeah, I made a change in this area as well.
Yeah, I saw you. Wait, where was it in the connection factory? Because the bookmark now.
Mm-hmm.
So you moved the bookmark queue from a queue. No, the the queue for sending from a queue into a bookmark.
Yes.
But so that probably means that this one can be removed as well.
That actually is the new table.
No, this one you need. This one you
Yeah,
need. Um,
I thought that I already removed the queue table.
wait, I saw replicate a bookmark. That's what you need. Yeah,
Yeah, yes, that
yeah.
is the right one.
I
And
must.
there's also a bookmark queue in addition to the or a bookmark table in addition to the queue bookmark table, um, which actually messed me up at first because I was expecting it to fail because it couldn't find the
Mm,
table I was looking for. I originally coded it to look for a table called bookmark,
mm,
and it found the table, and it was like, oh, I just need this other um, this other column in there.
mm.
I say, what does that mean? So yeah, the bookmark table is the client keeping track of bookmarks receiving from the upstream replicator, and the queue bookmark table is bookmarks sending to the upstream replicator.
Yeah. Perhaps we should rename them in upload or download bookmark.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Um, because here you have get the queue. It comes from the queue bookmark.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's loading all of the facts that are in the queue.
Okay. So that's what you added.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. And then there was also a change that I made more recently. So this was the change that I went over last week.
Mm,
So uh, so yeah, since I wasn't going to be live on Thursday, I pre-recorded something where um, I showed the outbound queue change. But then this week I made another change in that area where it was failing when bringing up a brand new device with a replicator that already had some data. Um,
you did a recording last week?
yes, yeah, I did.
Oh, I
Did you miss
didn't.
that? Okay,
No, I have to check it then.
okay.
I didn't go and check because I didn't thought you would make one.
Yeah, I didn't think I would either, but then I had
Mm,
a pocket of time on Wednesday evening, and so I was like, okay,
mm.
let's do this. I've made a little bit of progress. Let's show it. So let me do the screen and the better text readability. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if we go to okay, so we are looking in SQLite Store. Um, it might actually be better or easier for me to find it in the uh, in the change history here. Um, yeah, so there's the outgoing bookmark. Send complete graph and save. Yeah, it's in this last one this last pull request, which is now merged. I just haven't. I don't need to see the build. I just haven't created a new version yet. But it was right here. So let me bring this up in context. The result description builder. So Control Q, Control T, result description builder. And we are looking at 132. Okay, so we are basically putting together a translating from. I should probably switch. There we go. Now everybody else can see as well. So here we are translating from the specification into the SQLite query, and so it's going through all of the different conditions. So right now it's looking at path conditions, and right here I added this check for if the fact types do not contain the key of the type as it's searching that path. It was going straight on through to ensure get fact type ID, which throws if that fact type is not in the condition. So so what was happening is it would get into a path condition in this particular case, looking for has this post been deleted, and so I had fetched some data from the repository and put that data into my local storage, but there were no deleted posts in the repository, or maybe it was sites. Yeah, I think it was at the site deleted part of that. But so that fact type didn't exist in the data that I was looking over, and so this collection of fact types that I'd loaded from the database didn't contain the site deleted fact, and so this was throwing. So yeah, went back and compared that with the JavaScript code, and in this scenario, it returns an unsatisfiable query. So it says, okay, I don't even have any facts of the type that you're looking for in this particular join that I'm trying to build. So I'm just going to say this whole query is unsatisfiable. You won't find anything that matches this tuple. And so that's what this query description empty gives you, is that unsatisfiable query.
Okay.
And then there were a few more checks here to filter out the unsatisfiable queries. So let me expand that a little bit so we can see. Can I collapse this? Yeah, it won't let me collapse that. But yeah, here in the SQL generator, it's filtering out the unsatisfiable child queries. So that's the one that was really taking effect in this case. And then there's even a top-level one in the SQLite store where it's saying if the whole query is unsatisfiable, then just give me back an empty list of results.
So that happened when you run the query on the local database, and the local database was not filled with facts from the replicator.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. In fact, now that I think about it, I think this was actually the one that hit because I started up a brand new emulator, so it had an empty database. So I think it was actually the very first one that it tried to load. I said, I don't know what that type is, and threw the exception. So yeah, those are in the SQLite builder. I don't think that you've been in that area, but the SQL generator. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to affect you. It's really this change in the SQLite store, but that's far away from the code that you're changing. So think
Mhm.
I think that's not going to be a merge conflict anyway.
Well, because that's code you wrote completely. So
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there were a few other things that I noticed when I was going through that first time change, or the first time load, and um, this was first time notified. Oh, right, yes. Yeah, so let's go back to the observer. Control T, observer. Okay, so an observer is what you get back when you call Janaga client.watch. So this gives you the opportunity um, to cancel the watch. It also lets you um, wait on a couple of tasks. So one to see if it's cached and another one to see if it's loaded. So one of the changes that I'm trying out right now is I've I've commented out the MRU logic, um, because what I was seeing is that on the very first load, it's uh, it's doing the thing that I expect it to do. That it tries to load the MRU date, sees that this particular specification has not been run on this device in recent history, so therefore it's going to return false when it's saying read from store, and instead um, go to the remote first, pull the data in from the replicator, populate local, and then come back and read from store. The the goal there is to give somebody a good instant load experience, as in you've not used this application before. I don't want you to see the data trickle in, you know, loading one row at a time and seeing things change. Instead, um, you understand that this is the first time, so I have to hit the server, and then when I get the results from the server, I'll show you all the results at once. So that's what this was intended to do. The problem was that if we went offline, then it caches that specification, or it caches the data, but then the MRU is per specification. So we've loaded all the information to do with all of the blogs in Blog Maui, or actually all of the posts. So we see a list of posts and we see their names. Now, if we go into a post, we are running a different specification. We're saying, show me the title of this one post. But that specification is just a smaller version of the big specification that we ran at the beginning. However, it's cached by specification hash, so we don't have that small one in the MRU. And so it was saying, okay, I'm not going to show you what's in the local store yet. I'm going to hit the remote. But I've turned on airplane mode, so I'm disconnected. Remote is going to fail, and then it was just not showing any data. So I said, okay, let me try one thing real quick and just say that let's pretend that it's always in the MRU, that it's always returning true, and so we're always loading from local first. And that fixed that offline scenario. I mean, that's why they call it offline first. That's the pattern that they want you to use. And so I really want to see if the loading one thing at a time process actually happens. Is that a true experience that I need to protect the user from, or am I just making stuff up? So commented that out to get that better experience. But something like that may come in.
So now it goes always first to the local storage.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I even documented a couple of ideas that I might try at some point in the future. So if instead of just looking by hash, if I know that this is a child specification of this bigger one, maybe um, I can see that relationship and then load the MRU for the bigger one. And say, okay, I've gotten all of the post titles, therefore I do know this post title. And then another option would be to just put a timeout on that connection upstream, and if it fails, continue to load local, rather than just failing the whole thing.
So, yeah, but then the wait time is going to be longer.
Yes, yeah, that is the drawback there. So, need to try that one out.
I was thinking that it's best to go local first because that's very fast, and in a second place go to the server.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think so. And if it does turn out that you see things loading, a piece at a time, maybe I can find a different solution to that doesn't get in the way of local first. But it could actually turn out that because of something else that I'm working on, that might not even be a problem. So,
what is that? Something else?
Yeah. So, first of all, to describe what's going on, here we've got the application. I think it's actually still running. Yeah, there it is. So, what I was trying to set up was a side-by-side test where I could show two different instances of the application running and take them offline, put them into a state of having a conflict, and then bring them back online, or a concurrent edit. Since they recognize a concurrent edit, it's not truly a conflict. But and so I changed the user interface in order to make that happen. So and this user interface is actually a little bit more mobile friendly. So it used to be that this was an editor, so you could just tap here and start changing the name of the title. But I got to comparing other mobile apps, and they tend to have this mechanism instead, where you go into a modal screen that lets you change things. So yeah, first I changed the user interface to do things that way, and then the experience that I really want to give people is, okay, here's where you can change the title, but then have some indicator right over here that there's a concurrent edit. And if there is a concurrent edit, you can tap that indicator and you get the candidates. That's really interesting that I see two candidates. This might actually be related. Yeah, this is related to a bug that I fixed last week, but I haven't published yet. So that bug fix is not here yet. But as soon as that bug fix is here, then we'll be back down to one candidate. So let me go ahead and finish that side tangent. Show you what that bug was. So I think it might have been, yeah, it was actually here. So right here, I was checking to see if this result that I need to notify you about, if I've already notified you. So I check it against this notified tuples collection. So if I haven't notified you, then go ahead and do the notification and then add it to the notified tuples collection. Problem is, this is an immutable collection. I actually needed to have notified tuples equals notified tuples.add. So, simple bug that meant that I can go through this code all day long, and notified tuples actually never changes. It's always empty. So it thinks that it hasn't notified yet about this Introduction to Janaka Replicator title. And so it notifies a second time, and it ends up in the candidates collection.
I'm happy to see that I'm not the only one who forgets to do that.
Yep. All the time. But yeah, while I was in there fixing that, I also noticed that this check is outside of the lock. It has to be because there's an asynchronous operation here. But I want these two things to be consistent. I want them to be part of the same thing. So instead, I created this first time notified that does the check and the add inside of the same lock. So even if you have concurrency here, it'll do the right thing, and it'll just notify you once for every tuple. So that will solve that little problem. Yeah, so what I'm running into here is just a little bit of MAUI UI stuff, where I really want, instead of this to be a list that you can pick from, I want this to be a drop-down so that when you click the drop-down, it does this experience and then just populates the title. And wouldn't you know it, that's a really popular question on the MAUI forums. How do you re-implement a drop-down selector for an editor, for an entry control? And there are lots of solutions, and I really don't want to just pick one of the, here we're going to hand roll that experience solutions, because I want this to be something that's going to evolve from one version of the platform to another. I want it to look correct on an iOS device, look correct on an Android device. So, excuse me. So I'm leaving that that experience till later. But for right now, you have to click on this other thing in order to get the list.
But so it will show you the two candidates.
Yes.
It will allow you to select one of them and even to modify if you want.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And so
and then save.
Yep. And so to do all that, I changed the behavior here. So so we had a post. Let's see. Start right here. We had the post page. Instead of a label, this used to be an not editor, because editor is multi-line, entry. So entry is a single line text box. So this was an entry with two-way binding. So instead, I changed this to just label, and then I put in a button that calls edit. So here's the post view model. Yeah, that's the one that's connected to it. And so now the edit command takes you to handle edit, which brings up the post edit view model. And this captures the titles for that particular post. So titles is this immutable collection here. And we are managing that that collection inside of our watch. So every time we learn about a new title, we add it to the immutable collection, do the appropriate assignment here to update our immutable collection, and then removing a title removes it from the collection. So at any given time, we have inside of this immutable list the candidate titles. So when we open up the modal, we freeze that collection. So now that immutable list goes off in here. the immutable list that's managed here can continue to grow. But we've essentially made a copy of it by just simply taking that. That's the advantage of immutable lists, and sending it off to the view model here. So this is the pattern that I really want to support and I want to teach people. Maybe not so much the focus and unfocus pattern that I think we talked about last time. Maybe it was on the other video. But yeah, so we grab this immutable list of post titles. So this is the frozen list. It's immutable. It's not going to change anymore. And so if yeah, and so we drop that into an observable list of candidates. And so if we have only one candidate, then there is no concurrent edit, and everything is fine. It works just like a regular text editor. So when it comes to the UI, I want the UI to switch based on whether candidates has just one element in it or if it has more than one element. If it has more than one element, then I want it to show, hey, there's a concurrent edit, and here's the control that you can use to open that list. But for right now, we just bind to that observable collection, always show the list, and then we can select a candidate. So we have bound the selected candidate, and when selected candidate changes, I just set the title. So you select something, I'm just going to set the title. Now here's the pattern that that I need to continue to teach and maybe even write some code to support. But yeah, if you have only one title in your collection, so there weren't any concurrent edits when you started the modal.
Yeah.
And if that one and only title is equal to what you currently have, then in that case, you haven't done anything. So nothing to do. Keep moving on. But if the number of titles that you started with was anything other than 1, so it might have been 0, you've not created a title before, or it might have been 2 or 3. There's been a concurrent edit on this post title. So if that's the case, then you need to set a post title that brings them all together. So you take all those titles that you used to have, put them into an array. Those are your prior titles. But even if you have just one prior title, if its value is different than the one that the user has entered this time, then that means they've changed it, and so you create a new post title in that case as well. So we await Janaga client.fact, save that post title, and then when we know that it's been saved, then we can pop modal async. We can return the user, and they have confidence that their change they just made in the modal, and they push save. The modal disappears. Yeah, confidence that change was saved somewhere.
Okay.
Now this might be, I think this is actually a change as well, about what does it mean for it to be saved somewhere. If we go to Janaga client, and we look at yeah, here we are in Janaga client, and we look at fact. It is going to go to the fact manager and save that fact. So in the fact manager, it's going to check the kind of store that you have. And if it's a persistent store, like the SQLite store, then it's going to run a background task in order to save to the network manager. So that means we are finished as soon as we where is it? yeah, this is where we say, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, so we no matter what, always save to the local store. But yeah, if it's a persistent store, we start the network manager save on a background task and then immediately return to the user. So we are
Okay.
done at that point. But if it's not a persistent storage mechanism, then we await the save to the network manager.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to give the user any false uh, assertion that their data has been saved until we've actually talked to the remote. So if you don't have persistent storage and you've gone offline and you enter something in a modal and hit save, then it's going to keep spinning right there. And you're going to know that that information you just entered isn't persisted anywhere. So turn on persistent storage and you get a much better experience.
So with persistent storage, he's going to store it and you can just continue to work.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, exactly.
And in the other case, there is nothing much you can do, huh?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because your storage is just in memory. You can't talk to the remote, so you know if they shut down the app, it's going to be lost. I mean, we'll try. The in-memory store has a queue as well, and it's going to try to send it back to the remote, but no guarantee. Oh, and how is it going to try? That's something we might not have talked about. There's now a push function, so you can just call the Janaga client.push, await that, and that is going to call save on the network manager as well. So you'll notice network manager.save doesn't actually take any facts. It doesn't. You don't tell it what facts to save. And this is the change to the store that I just made, in that when the network manager tries to save, the first thing that it does is gets all of the facts from the store's queue. So it's like, okay, these are all the facts that are ready to save. And so just adding a fact to the store because of the bookmark thing automatically adds it to the queue. So we don't have that problem that you pointed out where you could save something to the store, but it's not in the queue, and then data gets lost. So these little changes are coming together in order to kind of solidify that offline first experience. So it's like all the pieces were there, but they just weren't put together in all the right ways in order to make it a good experience.
Yeah. So if the queue is empty, then it gives a notification or no notification. And if the queue is not empty, then it will give a status warning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So here, yeah, the false null 0, that means is it saving? So you can have a status indicator for actually talking to the network. Maybe that goes up in the corner. Maybe that's inside of your dynamic island for your app. I don't know. One of these days I'll have a phone with a dynamic island, but it seems kind of silly right now. But yeah, so that's how you can tell your user that you're working on it. You're actually trying to save. This next one is what was the last exception? So if there's nothing in the queue, that's no. And then this one is what's the size of the queue? So we just found out it's 0, so tell them it's 0. But if it's not 0, okay, we've got this non-zero number, still no error, but now let's go ahead and do that work. And if we capture the exception, let's tell the front end about it and say, okay, we're no longer trying to save, but there was an error. Versus here, we are trying to save. No error yet, but it's a non-zero number. So all that should give you enough information. Oh, there is one other piece of information that I do want to add to this, and that is um, the date at which we were last successful.
Yeah.
So this queue has information that's this old. So you know, be concerned about that.
Mm.
And we'll have that same idea for the for receiving information. This is the last time that I received something from the remote replicator. So you're looking at stale data.
Um, you don't want to say that's the last time we communicated, because we received
True.
and we
Yes,
sent.
you're right.
Um,
Yeah. So we could have communicated, gotten nothing back, and we still want to know
mm,
this is fresh. Even though the last fact that we got may have been from yesterday, this is fresh because I just checked and there's nothing new. Yeah.
mm. Because is there any use to have two different dates, send and receive? I don't think so.
Um, I can't think of one off the top of my head, um, but it seems like the sort of thing that maybe somebody would think of something that would be useful. Um, so basically, this status object. So I've got with stave status, with load status. Um, so these are just two methods that mutate. Mutate. It's an immutable object, of course, but give you a new object that has only half of it changed. So this Janaga status on the load side we have is loading and last load error, and on the save side we have is saving, last save error, and queue length. So it seems about right to me that we would have a timestamp on each of those two sides. But yeah, as an application developer, you get to choose what experience does my user really care about, and they definitely care about the timestamp on the load side. They might not care about the timestamp on the save side.
Um,
I don't know,
yes,
actually.
because
Yeah.
yes, because if the problem is only there since an hour,
Mm-hmm.
you may say, okay, it will go away. Perhaps tomorrow will be better. But
Yeah.
if it's for the last week, then there is really a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to call Jan and say, "Hey, your server's down." And then Jan calls Michael and says, "Hey, your server's down."
And Michael switches on the server.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, all this should be easy for the user to understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But all of this was leading up to your question about, okay, what is it that you're working on that's maybe going to
Mm,
solve this problem of um, things trickling in versus showing them all at
mm.
once. And I don't think we have time to go through this in detail, so maybe we'll save this for next week, but I'll tease it. Um, okay, so the the problem that I was seeing, yeah, in fact, you can see this in some of my previous videos. It actually did happen last week as well. So when you watch that one, you'll see me
Mm.
look confused about something. Um, so we get back to this screen. Maybe we were just here and we just edited. Let's see if I can make this happen. Just edited. And we save. And we can see the update here. We come back here. Okay, this time it worked. But sometimes that has the previous value still. And I think, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Um, the yeah, I first created a unit test to reproduce that issue, and then I was able to to actually make that happen in that unit test reliably. So every time that test fails. So I have right here a failing test. that sets up a company with an office, and then it changes the office name. And it's just a simple, here's the first one, the second one replaces the first, the third one replaces the second. So no concurrent edits, just a simple linear change of names. And yet, when you run this, you don't get the third name. You get, expected it to be 3, but I found 2. You get the second name. And that's consistent. That test fails in that same way every single time. So it's like, okay, yes, I've taken all of the timing related issues out of it because I'm using the in-memory storage, um, and this is very predictable, and so I can reproduce it. Then I dug through the code, couldn't find any problems with the code, and ultimately found a problem with the proof. So, next week I can walk through what's the proof, what's the problem, what's the fix. Maybe by next week I'll actually have the fix implemented. But this is a really really important find here, and this one's going in the book. So, chapter 12 of the second edition is going to be the proof of the query inverse algorithm that I'm using here. Chapter 13 is going to be the proof of the feed algorithm. There's a big old problem with the proof that I was based this algorithm on.
And when is the book gonna be available?
It's going to be available probably first quarter of next year, maybe early second quarter. But so I am. I'm currently revising the chapters. I have gotten up to chapter 5 is finished, and basically, what used to be chapters 4 and 5 are swapped, and now they're 5 and 4. So you can read all the way through analysis before you get to the meaty chapter, which used to be chapter 4, but is now chapter 5, of conflict-free replicated data types and location independence. But one of the things that I'm doing is I noticed that the algorithms that I came up with for Janaga.net and then rolled back into Janaga.js were simpler, much easier to understand than the ones that I was showing in the book, specifically on query inverses. So I'm going to completely dump that chapter and instead write a new one that is this new algorithm and the proof behind it. And then furthermore, I'm going to take those chapters that represent those proofs of things that are, I think, really core to implementing an immutable runtime. I'm going to move those proofs to the end. They're almost appendices. I'm still wondering, should I actually call them Appendix A and Appendix B rather than Chapter 12, Chapter 13? But yeah, you can consume the whole book. You understand, how to write applications this way, how to use these concepts, even before seeing the proof of, yes, these concepts work. And then if you're like, okay, I trust you, this makes a lot of sense, and maybe even I've seen some demos and it seems to work, then you can say, okay, I don't need to read chapters 12 and 13. I can just
make it a chapter. Make it a chapter. It's a book written by a mathematician.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's an important point.
Yeah. Appendix does seem to be like, in case you wanted to see this, here's my working out. No, the working out matters.
The correctness of all this is important. No, I looked last week on the website of Apress. Was it because there was some changes in their company? It was Springer and Apress, and but I couldn't find any trace yet of the new edition.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're not advertising the second edition yet. So they're just working with me on
Mm,
updating it. Um, and in fact, I put out the call um, for a technical reviewer.
mm,
So um, so yeah, they said, "Hey, for the second edition, do you have anybody in mind that you would like to review it?" And so yeah, I did get in touch with a fellow Pluralsight author who has not only written uh, some some systems that were based on event sourcing, but then also
mm,
reviewed Martin Kleppmann's book on, or at least
mm,
part of his book on uh, you know large scale distributed systems, and
mm,
so yeah, and then he's also familiar with CRDTs, and it's like okay, so it seems like this is the guy. So we're gonna see if we can
mm.
work out a, a deal there. Actually, you know, A-Press already has an offer. It's like, yeah, this is what we offer our tech reviewers, and yeah, a tech reviewer is yeah, not in it for the money any more than the author is. That's for sure.
Mm.
But um,
I'm not a tech
yeah,
reviewer, but if you want me to read it before you publish it, no problem.
absolutely, yes, yeah. So I can send you the first five
Mm,
chapters. You'll see
mm,
minor updates. Yeah, so really the updates are early in the book are all about kind of changing, reframing the idea a little bit. So
mm,
um, whereas the idea of immutable runtimes, just I saved that till chapter 12 of the first edition. I'm bringing that forward. So I'm even teasing it in the first few pages of this is where this is leading, and then
mm,
chapter 6 is an entire chapter on immutable runtimes. So that's what I'm working on right now
mm.
is that chapter. So I
If,
think that would be the first one that's really new to you.
mm. So if you want some some ideas of of somebody who doesn't understand, who's lazy, how to make it readable for somebody who doesn't understand it, well,
Yeah,
I can help you.
excellent, excellent. And actually, I designed it
Mm,
even more so in the second edition than in the first edition, so that somebody who's lazy can quit after a certain point and say, "Okay, I got what I needed." So now that
no,
point is after chapter 4. So
yeah,
yeah,
but
if you don't want to put in the work of the math or implementing, you know,
mm,
the low level stuff yourself, you know, you just want to be able to design these systems and think in this way, and go through chapter 4, which is now the
mm,
analysis chapter, um, and then you can say, okay, let's put that on the shelf for a little bit. Let me practice with that, and then maybe I'll come back and continue the journey.
no, the first edition was so interesting that I read it from the first to the last page.
Well,
Uh,
thank you, sir.
and I get the second. I think the second edition will be even better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. So
Mm. No, if I can help there, just send me the chapters, and I.
I certainly shall.
Mhm.
All right.
Good.
Yeah, so
Next
hopefully
week
that
you.
teased up next week. Yeah, go over the problem with the proof, the
Yeah.
the two possible solutions, and then maybe
Mm.
the one that I picked, or maybe I implemented them both. I don't know. Tune in next week to find
The best one.
out.
The best one. Okay, and I will implement that role cache, and then I will make it a pull request.
Sounds good.
Finally. Okay, Michael, thank you very much, and see you next time. Same timing for the rest of the winter.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Let's try.
Yep.
Let's try.
Yep.
Okay. See you. Bye
See ya.
bye.